What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Miami Nation podcast. I'm Alex Miller, joined always by the one, the only Robert Cessna. Cease. How much rain you get over in Austin's Colony these last few days?
I actually had to go over there because the tennis team was having a deal, and I needed to do an interview if possible, which didn't make it. I went over it in the height of the rain, and the fact that my old car made it through, we hydroplaned together, me and the old car. The fact that I made it, it was a lot of rain in a short time.
A lot of rain in a short time. Well, hey, there's about to be a lot of Diamond Sport games in a short time, potentially this weekend again. The A&M baseball team is home against a really bad Missouri team, if we're just being honest.
Very bad, yes.
And let's be honest, too, the A&M softball team, if they make a run, if they win this whole thing, they got a shot to lock down potentially the number one seed in the NCAA tournament. If they could beat Texas and Oklahoma back-to-back.
We're hopping around is because they are already number one RPI. They might have done enough. You know, RPI is different in rankings. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you hope they win 3 games up there, but it'd be interesting to see if they only won 1 or 2, if they would still be RPI 1. But I know Tricia Ford and the troops aren't thinking about that, so we'll wait and see.
Well, tell me this, Cease, because, everybody likes to talk about name brand bias, and when you're talking softball, OU's the cream of the crop. The Sooners are the team to beat. They have been for the last decade. When you've got a team like Oklahoma that's in the mix with, a couple other schools like A&M or even Texas for that number one spot, how much do you think a committee... How hard do you think it might be for them to put aside, we talk about in football, right? It's hard to leave Alabama out of the college football playoff. How hard could it be for a committee when they're trying to split some hairs to not just go with Oklahoma because of name brand recognition?
Yes, but sometimes in some sports it can work against you because they want new blood. You think about last year, Oklahoma was a 3-time national champ, and Texas was the number one seed, even though Oklahoma, I'm saying, kind of owned them. And then what happened? Oklahoma won their 4th one. I was real interested to see the polls this week because Oklahoma went to Florida, lost 2, but they still won the SEC. A&M only won 1 of 3 against Tennessee. Texas swept Kentucky, but they were coming off being swept by OU. So I thought maybe OU would be number 1, but lo and behold, every poll except that wacky, I guess it's Softball America, whatever, they had Arkansas number 1, but all the rest had A&M. And I think A&M has won enough this year that a little bit like last year, everybody said, well, hey, Texas is winning all the big games. So Texas is number 1, didn't live up to it. So I would say this could be 2 years in a row where maybe Oklahoma goes into the tournament not seeded number 1, but no one would be surprised if they won.
So what's A&M's approach this week? It's Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of interesting. We've been around Tricia Ford enough now, all of us, fans, media. If they're playing, she wants to win. She's not going to give in to anything. She's going to – and I think actually that's all softball coaches. And don't get me wrong, I can remember when Cliff Gustafson baseball – would maybe tank a tournament because pitching is a little bit different in baseball, different sport. In softball, most people say, like, I'm going to win it. And you see a lot of people win the tournament, go on to the College World Series or whatever. I think it's every man for himself on deck. They're going up there to win it. If it's A&M and Texas in the second round, second game for A&M, or they play Oklahoma, trust me, and Patty Gasso always got up for playing, A&M because A&M doesn't have the brand, but they do have 3 national championships, and once again they are, quote, a name school. So I think softball's a little bit different. I think we're going to see a mini College World Series once it gets down to tomorrow's play.
Well, and to your point on that, if A&M has the opportunity to play teams like Texas or Oklahoma in the championship, how much of a measuring stick might this be as we head into the postseason and could see some rematches of these teams here in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I'm right a little bit. I've never seen a situation where right now there were 5 5 SEC teams got first place votes this week. So in other words, people are divided, and Tennessee didn't get any. So that means there's really 6 teams. Consider Tennessee was just number 1 a couple of weeks ago. So that being said, there's going to be 5 or 6 teams leave Atlanta. I mean, they'll fly out of there not feeling too good because they didn't win the SEC championship. But guess what? They might win the national championship in 2 weeks. So it's a great dress rehearsal with what I call is no safety net. If you lose, big deal. You're going to be home for the next 2 weekends. If you're A&M, if you're Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, big deal. You lost this weekend, you're going to be home next week and the weekend after that.
Yeah. What impressed you the most, though, about this weekend's series win over Tennessee there in Knoxville?
Knoxville has been a real place. They lose games almost as bad as Missouri. Florida, you look, A&M does have a little bit of brand name in softball, getting back to the 80s a little bit, in the 70s. But you look, since they joined the SEC, they've been horrible on the road. They were 3-12 in Tennessee, and they were worse in Missouri. They've been worse at They've been worse at all those places. Just to go up there and win 2 out of 3 was huge, because somehow there's certain matchups you're going to lose those games, and that's the kind of game they've lost in the past, maybe. And to go up there, and second place is on the line come that game, and A&M won 13-2, just beat the snot out of them. And I think that opened a lot of people's eyes when you talk about why are they number 1. They go, well, dang, A&M won 13-2 at Tennessee.
Well, we'll be following the action from home this weekend from College Station. You will, at least. I probably will too. And I'm sure plenty of other people will as well.
That's the beauty of Diamond Sports. I was telling somebody, I went out to tennis on Sunday. I watched the whole A&M baseball game. Now, I didn't make sound on because I always want to do justice of the sport I'm covering, but writers are no different than fans. So you got the TV on there, and you go, oh, wow, Surreal just went deep. It's like, oh, I missed the ace. It'll come around again.
Well, we're switching across the street to Olsen Field. A&M baseball, of course, they get a big series win over LSU. Here's the deal. If A&M takes care of business against Missouri this weekend, like literally every other team has, they're
8 teams have.
They're 0-24. They're
That's
really
hard to do.
It's hard to do. They've got one good starting pitcher, and they have had some moments. They've played some teams pretty tough. They played LSU tough, and they played Georgia tough this last weekend, a couple of games.
They had Georgia beat that one game pretty much like 5-0.
And just blew it.
But they're Missouri.
Well, and they're living in misery. That's what they're doing.
Misery from Missouri.
Yeah, I'm sure other people have made that joke. First time.
Good job.
I'm a funny guy, some would say.
Well, let's not get real carried away.
Well, anyway, so A&M, they are sitting at what, 10-14 overall in the SEC. We've been talking about 13-30, right? If they sweep Missouri, they'll get to the 13 SEC wins. Got a shot to keep improving the RPI to 30. No SEC team with those two metrics has ever missed the NCAA tournament. And still got Georgia on deck, which will also provide more opportunities to improve conference win totals and RPI. Cease, from watching afar, what has stood out to you in A&M's series against LSU?
They had the big hits and pitching. I mean, I said my deal is, Prager for about had a 4-week stretch there that he wasn't getting it done. And I don't care anything else on your team, but when your Friday night starter is really not giving you a chance and putting you behind the 8 ball, it's tough to win a series if you lose that opener or you don't play well in that opener. I mean, even if you come back and win and use your whole bullpen, so to speak, that hurts you for the next 2 games. But now Prager's now had a couple quality starts, and it's amazing what happens. And if you look at A&M, I think they're 9-2 against teams not named Texas, so to speak, when they were run ruled and no hit by Tennessee. So they've consistently turned things around. And once again, baseball's going to be in stretches because we all played baseball. It's the only sport I played. It's unlike any other sport, a little bit like softball, but softball you can use one pitcher. So baseball's a little bit different. So you get on these rolls and suddenly you can hit like Sorrell is hitting right now or what have you, or like what's Rojo, the second baseman?
Royo.
I mean, those guys just throw the ball up and they're going to hit it. So A&M's got that going. A&M cured their defensive woes. You got to have a good defense in Diamonds. I don't care if it's baseball or softball. But A&M's coming together at the right time. Now, you'd like to peak, but like baseball's, tomorrow's promised to no one. We make all the jokes we want to about Missouri, but A&M's got to win those 3 games.
A&M does have to win those 3 games.
You screw up one of those, and you go like 8 other teams didn't screw up. If A&M, then you give something back. If you lose just 1 game. So is there a little bit of pressure? Not really, because I think baseball's a little bit different. If you just go out and play the game, A&M's going to win 3 games. And so then now you look at your 12-2 really since Tennessee. So then you got to take and Georgia's really good. And you go up there and just win 1 or 2 games, then you go into postseason. And we know baseball, you just have to be hot for 2 weekends, and then you're in Omaha. I mean, that's the beauty of the sport. And all of it is A&M could, heck, A&M could sweep Missouri. A&M could go sweep Georgia. Then if they lay an egg one of the next 2 weeks, it's over. So right now you got to like their trajectory, where they're at, consider where they came from.
Well, I think the biggest thing right now for me is the resurgence of the starting pitching. We talked all through the first month of the season how dismal the offense and the fielding was, but that the starting pitching was still giving them a chance to win. And then throughout kind of that second month, the next 4 to 6 week stretch, as the offense started taking steps forward and the fielding was following, guys like Prager, like you mentioned, kind of struggled. And Lampkin had a couple of tough outings. So did Patton. Last weekend, they really kind of put it all together. I know Patton kind of had a rough end. He gave up the home run right before he got yanked. But all things considered, all 3 of them pitched really, really well. And starting pitching just goes such a long way in college baseball. If A&M can continue to get between 5 and 7 innings from these starters, they're going to be in good shape. And as long as they can keep getting Weston Moss to recover and take steps forward from what he's been dealing with over the last month, and continue to have a guy like Caden McCoy step up and deliver big outings. I'm writing a feature on him for Thursday's paper that you can read at theeagle.com. Pitching's going to get into a good spot. The thing that I'm a little concerned about lately has been a little bit of regression in a couple of hitters that have been part of this surge, right? Jace LaVallette, really rough weekend at the ballpark, really swinging at a lot of pitches outside the zone. Mike Early's addressing that. He delivered when it mattered with that little dinker off the end of the bat that gets the job
Real
done.
dinker, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that ball went maybe 70 feet.
45 mile per hour off the bat, yeah.
Definition of a dinker, right? But credit to Jace. He hustles. He gets the infield single, drives in a run, and sets up the 3-run shot for Sorrell, right? But they need Jace to be better. They need him to be that 1-1 type hitter that we know he's capable of being. Sorrell kind of had a tough weekend. He admitted that himself. The guy's got the green light. And like you said, baseball's an up and down sport. Guys are going to go through slumps. They just need him to be more of a steady Eddie, right? And then another guy that I've kind of been keeping my eye out on is Bear Harrison. He had such the hot streak, right? He was the talk of the team there for about 3-4 weeks with all the home runs, the extra base hits. His slugging number was off the charts. He's really cooled off the last couple weeks. A&M needs him to find his groove again. I'm not saying he needs to have like a 1,500 slug, but I mean, getting a 1 for 3 outing would really help the cause for A&M. So I think that A&M is trending in the right direction. They have continued to pinpoint deficiencies. Let's see if this is a weekend against a weak Missouri squad. Maybe they can get right in a few areas that they've been struggling in lately.
I'm with you 100% moving forward. I can't see this team getting to Omaha or maybe even super regionals if LaVallette doesn't pick it up, because you got to have your bell cow. It's nice when these other guys come back. It's nice when Bender up hits a couple homers. It's nice when Harrison does, a Rojo or whatever the guy's name is.
Royo.
That's always nice. But LaVallette's the guy that kind of stirs the drink. He's the guy that's got to come up with a clutch hit or a good hit every game almost, because Other teams are fearful of him. Pitchers are fearful of him. When he's giving you those weak swings and easy outs, I mean, it's not good for everybody's psyche, because it's like everybody goes, well, damn, Jace is struggling. What am I supposed to do? And then postseason comes, everybody tightens up a little bit. So you want your bell cow doing it. So I think he's a key.
They are on a record alert right now for Wyatt Hensler. I think he's 2 away from breaking the single season record for most hit by pitches. He's up to 20, and it's just funny because at the beginning of the season, I think he had been hit by a pitch like 4 or 5 times on like the first 2 weekends, and somebody asked him like, "Hey man, what's up with all the hit by pitches?" And he goes, "Yeah, that was my thing at Penn. I led the team in hit by pitches all 4 years. I told Mike before the season I was probably going to do that here, and he's got the Home Depot theme song as his walk-up song, so I guess it just kind of fits the bill for him."
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I do look at this. I'm coming from a generation, people remember who Ron Hunt was, because he could get on. And I always look at the walks, because walks are big as well when you start looking at the on-base average in softball and baseball. And you'd think that, that's another one. A&M is very good on walks. You'd think almost every year they're coming close to the school record, just because their guys are good, and people want to pitch around those guys. A lot of times Lavalettes not going to get a pitch on 3-1, 3-2, so he's going to walk, even though he makes them mad. But that's the respect he has.
Well, big weekend for tennis. A&M women, they're here hosting UCLA. The men, they're out at, is it Wake Forest? Is that right?
You got it. Arnold Palmer's school. If you want to have an Arnold Palmer, that's Wake Forest.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Never
where he
knew
went
that.
to school. Oh yeah.
Cease, you've kind of been the tennis guru here the last couple of weeks. You got a feature on Lexington Reed coming out here shortly. What's kind of the outlook for the A&M tennis teams this weekend as they look to punch their tickets to nationals, which will be in Waco?
Here's the deal: the men's team, kudos to them getting to Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest is either maybe 36-1 or 43-1.
Something gaudy.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a reason for that. And if they go up there, sure, A&M wants to go up there and pull off the upset. But if they could go up there and just get a couple points, they got a lot of young guys. One of their big stud seniors, J.C. Reddy, can't play. He hasn't played. So it's already been a successful season for A&M. Anything they do up there is gravy. For the women, obviously, they should win this week. I'd be shocked if they don't win 4-0.
UCLA is unseeded.
Unseeded. They went to Vanderbilt and beat Vanderbilt. So they're going to be a little bit weary about that, because A&M lost to Vanderbilt. That's one of their losses. But A&M, what I like about A&M women's team is they got a lot of young stars. They got the stud All-American in Mary Stoyana, but they've got a nice mixture from the freshman Reed on up. They don't really have to rely on Mary. A lot of times, if you notice, they'll clinch and her match will be unfinished because she's number one. That's how much depth Mark Weaver has, and he talked about that yesterday. When you look at the culture he has, this program will be winning next year, even after Mary Stoyana leaves, because Karen, I think her name is, she'll be a senior next year. He's got the program built where they have the studette, but it's going to continue, and that's the mark of a program. So you would pencil them right now to get to Baylor. Now, they probably like a more exotic destination, but right now they'll take Baylor because that's where the Nationals are at.
Well, funny you mention it, though. A&M tennis programs play a lot of matches up in Waco when they need to go play in that indoor facility, considering they don't have one down here. So, A&M's got, what is it, 70 now? 70 matches, a home win streak?
70 straight
which is
home.
Just nuts.
Yeah, and last year they beat North Carolina. North Carolina was at, I think, 94. So you consider where A&M is and how much Mary Stoyana, and I forget the couple women that came before her, but they still need to win for about a couple more years before they get to approach 94. And we've seen that, I think it was in North Carolina soccer too. When these people get this role, and that's the epitome of home field advantage, and there's no league like the SEC. Because what's funny is A&M softball has lost 2 home series. You only play 4. That's how good the league is. That Florida came in here in Arkansas, but people come in here and win at Olsen Field. But then A&M went to Tennessee and Arkansas. So for the great thing about being in a power conference, we see week after week how much home field means, but we also see how hard it is to go in and win. But if you do, what a mark for your team. Let's be honest, if A&M baseball doesn't win 2 games at Arkansas and 2 games at tennis, we're not talking about their postseason. If they were swept, they would be sitting here, 6 league wins?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's winning on the road is huge.
Well, big weekend for them. You got a big rest of your afternoon to write all these stories for our readers to check out at theeagle.com, where you can also catch all of our content this weekend as we cover all things A&M sports.
Or call Alex, let me give you a cell phone number. No, just kidding.
It's 867-5309, right?
867-5309. Tommy Two Tones, thank you.
Yeah. All right. That's it for this week's episode of the My Nation podcast. We'll be back next week.